What's up, guys? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. What's up, SMB Financial? Elena, what's up? What's up? Good morning. Welcome in. Let me know in the chat where you guys are tuning in from today. We always have a nice global audience here on Chart Fanatics Live on YouTube. Get into some analysis for the day, game plan, things that I'm watching out for, and maybe help you guys learn some stuff about order flow trading. If you're new to my streams, I normally stream on Fridays, but today I am switching with Marco and taking over for today. Now I trade the S&P and the NASDAQ futures and options, but I primarily trade with order flow, market auction analysis. Let's see, where's everybody at? Good morning from Croatia, Australia, Soren from Australia, Dylan, what's up, what's up? So we'll get into some things today, guys. We'll get into the analysis. It could be a little bit of a volatile day. We had some big earnings after the close yesterday, and then we had FOMC rate decision, which was nothing, but that was yesterday, so that's now out of the way. So we've got some of those kind of bigger uncertainties out of the way, and now kind of moving forward, hopefully we'll see. We've got an overall balanced week going on, so we do need to be mindful of that. We have a balanced trading week going on, and it's important to watch out for that at the extremes here. From San Diego, welcome in, welcome in. Missouri. Anybody else here from Florida? I'm the only Florida boy here. I'm the only Florida boy in my own state, to be honest with you. No, not really. But there's very few of us native Floridians here. Good morning, Ray. See you over there in Discord. Orlando, there we go. That's my town. Zazuz, Florida. All right. We got some Florida people representing. So before we get into it, guys, quick shout out to the sponsors of the channel. Apex Trader Funding, 90% off right now. You can get up to 20 accounts. TradeZella as well. Check out that. Discount code CF20. Lots of great sponsors here that help make this channel possible. I primarily trade personal capital, as you guys know, prop firm trader as well, PFT code there. If you're new to me, I trade personal capital, but the last few weeks I have been copying some trades onto some prop firms so I can help give some insights to people that I coach, and it's actually gone pretty decently well. So like I've traded 3 accounts from scratch up to payouts on the first go. So I may make a video going over that for you guys, what's working with that, as I continue to primarily trade personal capital, but exploring that to give some insights to you guys. And if you're new to my channel, make sure you check out my YouTube channel as well. I have a drop coming tomorrow for order flow trading. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm starting a new series on YouTube for order flow trading education. Right, so make sure you check out the discount codes from our sponsors here. They make this channel possible to bring you guys professional traders live every day. Not many places give you guys that. So shout out to these sponsors. Make sure you check out the discount codes there to get the best discounts possible. And then also stay tuned throughout the stream today because we have giveaways. As usual on stream here, we will have giveaways throughout the stream for people that participate and are active in the chat. So ask good questions. The more good questions you guys ask, the more value you get and education from me, and you may be rewarded with giveaways during the stream today. So let's get into the analysis for the day. This is Bookmap. This is my preferred kind of order flow analysis tool, but I look at this on ES and Q, but I'll get into the analysis here on the charts to kind of go through analysis before we start watching the order flow for today. And yeah, I just confirmed we got Apex giveaways, Alpha Capital giveaways, and TradeZella 6-month subscription giveaway. Right, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you're participating in the chat, asking good questions. and we'll get into it. I don't really trade gold too much. I started looking at gold a little bit, but honestly, guys, I stay away from shiny objects, no pun intended. I am an S&P and NASDAQ trader, and so, I just focus on what works for me. I know people were killing it with gold. It was a tempting little shiny object because it was popping off, but honestly, I just keep crushing with what I'm good at, so no need to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. All right, so let's get into the charts here. Let me pull up some higher time frame charts so we can start going through some analysis for the day. Essentially, I subscribe to the ideas of auction market theory and, consider myself to be like a tape reader of trading, right? So I am looking at the market through that lens, understanding supply and demand, understanding the phases that the market goes through of balance and imbalance and how that forms. And to that end, we kind of have a pretty balanced week overall. I mean, the market's bullish, obviously. We're at all-time highs. NASDAQ broke all-time highs today already, at least in Q futures. I do even if I trade options on SPY and QQQ, I still do all of my analysis on the futures for the most part. I'll for strikes and things like that, I'll look at the actual underlying, but the majority of my technical analysis and auction analysis is on the futures. So speaking of, get my charts pulled up here really quick. And your chart looks different. Why? Well, this is Bookmap. This is NASDAQ. I have my settings are a little bit different between ES and NQ. For one, it's just immediate visual to make sure I'm not lost on the wrong page, trading the wrong thing with the wrong analysis. But two, I zoom out a lot more on NQ just because it moves so much faster. Like I take a wider angle view a little bit, and I like these total volume bubbles. So since somebody asked, I'll just quickly cover this. These bubbles represent the total volume. And you can see inside each bubble is like a pie chart showing me the delta of aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. On ES, these bubbles are just showing me the delta. So the difference between aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers, or rather aggressive buyers minus aggressive sellers. So green bubble, if there's a positive delta at that price point, and red bubble, if there's a negative delta, and the size of the bubble indicates the size of the delta. Whereas on here, the size of the bubble is kind of showing me the total volume, and then inside the bubble at that price point, it's showing me like a pie chart representation of the delta between aggressive buyers and sellers. So let's get into it. The NASDAQ has stayed relatively stronger. I've been finding more opportunities on NQ lately. I've been trading that more lately. Haven't traded ES as actively the last week or so. And ES has been a lot more muted, like in a sideways range. There's been a little bit more movement and volatility on the NASDAQ, as there always is. But take a look at the daily chart here, and you can see this relatively sideways range that we have on ES. So for the last week, we've been like right here in this range. So we got a very sideways range here for the week. We did break all-time highs again, just barely, and drop back down. We basically went from this, hold up, pause, this is getting messy. We basically went from this sideways range that we were in, broke out slightly, and then now we're just holding in this sideways range right here, just slightly higher. So when I see this, I typically will, when we're in like a multi-day sideways range like this, I start to look at I draw a volume profile over like a multi-day range to just view like where overall key spots are on the volume profile, which I'll show you guys here in just a moment. And if you want these screenshots of kind of analysis that I talked through, I'll drop them in the Matt Owen channel on Chart Fanatics Discord. If you're not in there, make sure you check that out. That's also where you'll need to be to go claim the giveaways from today. But nonetheless, I'll drop these screenshots in there throughout the session here. So anyway, The main thing that I want to show is just this range that we're in, just looking at a daily chart here. And NASDAQ is similar, but it's held up a little bit stronger. Take a look here. Honestly, a lot of these levels don't mean anything now. I need to delete a lot of these levels, but you can see we were kind of in this range a little bit, but it kind of held more strongly, broke out of there, a little bit more directional. Now we've kind of held in this, but it's just a little bit more holding higher lows, a little bit more directionally uptrend still, despite in ES kind of staying more sideways. So just a little bit more relative strength on NQ here. Now, as far as game plan for the day, let's take a look at charts so I can show you guys. I'm gonna look at my 4-hour chart. So something that I often do when we're in a range like this is I'll just look at my 4-hour chart and then just draw a volume profile over that range to see what it looks like. Let me do that. I already did on ES, but let me do that really quick here on NQ. All right, so we'll start with ES because that's what we started with on the charts, and then we'll look at NQ. This is where I start to look a little bit more closely at my game plan for the day. So in this last week or so, this is a volume profile drawn back since like April 26th. Actually, yeah, like since like April 26th. So since the market's been in this sideways range here, like all-time highs there, lows here. ES did not quite break all-time highs yet. NASDAQ did. You can see this yellow shaded area here showing us the value area, like where 70% of volume has been distributed. It's not a super clean balance range. There is this kind of little area that's kind of been you see that low volume area, it's kind of acted as kind of a pivotal support and resistance area above or below. And I'm kind of watching that area today to see, we had this large kind of balance area fill down here at these lows. And we obviously did some crazy action yesterday after the close, swept out the highs, swept out the lows, but then we kind of broke out and held above it here. And you can see this VWAP line in the middle here as well. But this is kind of an interesting spot to me today to see if bulls are now going to kind of main strength and apply pressure back towards all-time highs. This is an area that I'd like to see them probably hold kind of around 71.75. And that'll make sense too when we look at the daily volume profile as well. And so that's kind of the middle of this weekly range here, but it's also just kind of a key pivotal support and resistance spot. So two things, you know, typically in balance ranges, I first look to fade the extremes. And, you know, when the market gets too high, look to short it. When the market gets too low, look to long it, right? Because many times we do this for a while as we've been doing. And so fading the extremes at the highs and lows, targeting mean reversions tends to be the best probability, the best play multiple times until we get a true strong breakout. So, you know, now with the context though, that now we're past the bigger earnings last night and past FOMC, and the market is again applying strength at these highs, I'm watching now to see today if we pull back, if this area is supported, that could be an indicator to me now, just given the overall timing, that we could go look to break all-time highs again if that holds, right? If that area holds. Now we could continue to look for the mean reversions here if we like fail, because we're currently trading up here right now in the upper portion of that. I'm a little cautious and hesitant here just because we've been in this range for a while. We're past news and this is all-time highs. So I'm just a little cautious taking this short up here at all-time highs. But we could see that and we could possibly use that as a target here to pull back. If we do come back down to these lows, then I'll also watch to see if we kind of mean revert, bounce off those lows. If at any point we truly shift the structure and break out of it, you know, especially if we see like a low volume node on the volume profile or something, then I'll be looking for continuation outside of this range. Drop that screenshot in the chat. So let's take a look at NQ now. So taking a look at NQ here, pretty much the same thing. We have this range that we've been in, highs and lows of it there. Actually, let me tighten this up a little bit. So you can see this range where all the volume is built. That's where the market has been mostly balanced up and down. Inside the middle of that is kind of like a be cautious zone for me here. With the exception of, like I said, similar to ES, how we kind of held higher lows after FOMC, after the earnings news, we still see kind of this low volume pocket here that's supported. And you can just see how that has acted as a kind of a support and resistance area above and below. And now we've kind of gotten past this news, broken out above that. I, again, kind of watch this area here today to see if this is a key spot. If we get a strong reaction, if it holds there, we could be headed towards the highs again. But it is important to note that we still are inside this kind of value area, balance range type of thing. So on this weekly chart, we could continue to see extremes fail and move back to the middle. If we do get a break out of the zone, once again, the same thing, you know, I would want to see that confirmed with strong selling. My eyes would be on these next prior lows. Like that's like the nearest thing. How do you determine whether it's a breakout or a fake out using order flow? I've taught that a lot. If you go back on the Chart Fanatics live stream to the last live stream that I did, I went over that in great detail. But essentially, you know, looking at things like absorption and where aggressive participants are coming in is a big thing. And seeing the reaction after that from aggressive participants. But I would highly recommend going back and watching that last live stream that I did here on Chart Fanatics. Did a pretty long, kind of in-depth class on that specifically. All right. Yeah, so I am mindful that it's coming into the end of the month here. I am mindful of that. For me personally, guys, also, I'm on like a 2+ week win streak. I have not had a losing day in over 2 weeks. So that's a little bit in my head, if I'm being honest with you guys, especially coming into the month here. So I'm kind of chilling a little bit, wanting to see something good quality. Even now at this point, it's still, you know, it still gets in my head kind of a little bit if I'm on an extended win streak or an extended losing streak. But it's just, that's just the nature of the game sometimes. So I try not to let that really affect my execution. Sometimes I almost want to just like take a small loss just so it's not even in my head anymore about being on a win streak or a losing streak or whatever. Because I feel like, you know, when you're on a winning streak, it's almost like you get more afraid to take a loss because you like don't, it doesn't even mean anything, but it's like you just like don't want to mess that up. And then it maybe causes you a little hesitation, or then you try to correct that, and then you get overconfident and just a little sloppy in your execution because you just feel invincible. Trying to understand your question, Elena. Matt, do you, with your trading, also do technical analysis for candles with order flow or only volume with order flow? I definitely do technical analysis like I went through, but especially more technical analysis on higher time frames like weekly, daily, and maybe like 4 and 6 hour charts. That's definitely more like technical analysis. The more nearer term that I get is on charts, as far as like intraday charts. I'm looking more specifically at like volume profiles with those charts to see the areas of balance and imbalance and stuff. So actually, speaking of, let's go back to the 30-minute chart intraday here, because I want to show you guys something. This aligns with that same area from that 4-hour chart that I showed you with the volume profile. But if we look at ES, we had basically this 2-day period here where we see this balance range, pretty distinct bell curve volume distribution here yesterday. And then obviously we built a lot of volume here again, right? And so that, remember that low volume area that I talked about was kind of on the 4-hour chart over the last week, was kind of around this same spot here, around 75. And I wanted to just show, we kind of failed to break down after the earnings and overnight after the news. So post FOMC, post earnings, we tried to break down again down here and failed and have blasted up. And we once again left like a little low volume area here on the break above this kind of balance range that we were in. So that's just another confluence that I'm watching. And that also aligns with this value area high from yesterday right there, that gray line right there. So there's just multiple confluences kind of saying, watch out to see if a pullback kind of holds here now. And if it does, if we do get a pullback there, and if it does hold, like that could be a sign of strength. To the flip side, if that doesn't hold and we drop back in here again, that could be an early sign of weakness. What is an A+ setup for you? For me, again, make sure you go follow my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be going over this in great detail as far as order flow trading, new series starting tomorrow. So make sure you go check that out. But, you know, for me, I like to identify good context, market context. So is the market balanced or imbalanced? Where's key areas, supply and demand, support and resistance? How does that align with volume and things that I'm seeing on the volume profile for levels? And then 2, the location. So what is the specific key technical level? That could be from order flow, like some large participants at a key level. That could be like an open high, low at close. It could be, you know, a key support level, something like that. So context, overall market conditions, location, specific key level, and then the confirmation. Now I'd break this up. Other people just kind of look at confirmation. I kind of break up confirmation into 2 things. So there's confirmation, which is like the level 1 confirmation that I use. So maybe seeing something like absorption or large aggressive participants defending, something like that. And then I don't usually enter on that right away. That's kind of step 1 is the confirmation. Then step 2 is the specific entry trigger that I look for. It could be a pullback. It could be aggressive buying coming in after absorption. It's kind of a 2-part thing. So step 1 confirmation, step 2 the specific entry trigger. And I have different models for that depending on the different trade setups, depending on the market conditions. When all of those things come together, A+ trade setup, to answer your question. John asked, am I bullish or bearish for the day? I'm never either. I am always neutral. I'm Switzerland, okay? I do my analysis, I have scenarios either way, and then I just go with what the market auction is showing me in real time. You know, I'm always aware of the context to see if one side is better probability or the other, but I'm never like, I'm bullish today, I'm only taking longs today, I'm bearish today, I'm only taking shorts today. I'm always neutral, and You know, I come up with key levels, like what if scenarios. You know, if this happens, then I'll look for this. If this happens, then I'll look for this. See, the market's already kind of consolidating up here at these highs a bit. Definitely important to be patient this morning. And speaking of news, I forgot to mention the economic calendar. I think we got PCE today, or did that already come out at 8:30? I can't remember. Kind of drawing a blank right now. Yeah, we had PCE at 8:30 already. We had jobless claims. We have Chicago PMI coming out in 17 minutes. That's what it was. I thought there was something else coming out after the open. Yeah. So at 9:45 in 17 minutes, we have Chicago PMI, which can be a higher impact news event. So we'll get into it here. Bell's about to ring, starting to get some action. I would highly recommend, I always generally let the first 5 minutes develop at a minimum. Ideally, the first 5 to 15 minutes develop. And especially we have news coming out, Chicago PMI in just a few minutes at 9:45 Eastern. We also have the ever-present risk of geopolitical headlines between the US and Iran. Tendra84 asked, hi Matt, other than volume profile levels, do you use any other levels in your strategy that you could tell us? Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, like I said, I start out with technical analysis on higher time frames, and I look at supply and demand, support and resistance. I look at areas where the market consolidated and then made an aggressive move out of, especially those aggressive moves that originate a new trending directional price leg, a new imbalance in the market. So, wow, this thing's volatile here this morning. Heads up, guys. So, level 1 is just doing technical analysis based on simple supply and demand, support and resistance, more so with higher time frames. And I'll look at things like volume and the RSI and simple stuff like that, just for general context and information, more so on the higher time frames, like the daily charts. And then, level 2 is I start looking at multi-day ranges with volume profiles and stuff. And then, okay, like where specifically, like within that supply and demand concept, support and resistance concept, where specifically is money being placed? Where is volume being placed? Volume equals money. That's where people are positioned, liquidity is there, etc. It's not guessing like, oh, here's a prior high, prior low, there's liquidity there. No, it's where are people positioned, which I can see on volume profiles. So that is the next level of information. And then I start looking more at intradays. 15, 30-minute charts are like my bellwether charts. I like those charts for intraday price action, especially with the confluence of looking at a volume profile, exactly like I went through today and showed you guys. And each one of those things adds another layer, another piece of information. And that helps me kind of determine my key spots, key locations for the day. And then, I come up with those scenarios that I just showed you guys in the pre-market of like what I'm looking for where. And then I look at the order flow for the specific trade models and setups that I look for and repeat on a daily basis. For a beginner just learning order flow, what single concept or tool should they focus on mastering first? And what's the most common mistake you see them make? Good question. I kind of covered the common mistake thing in the last stream as well. So again, there's a lot of knowledge in that last one. I highly recommend checking out. But as far as starting out, I would just learn about what the market actually is, first of all, right? Stop trying to project what you think that should happen on the market with technical analysis and stuff, and just understand the market for what it is, an auction. And then there's some books, like you can read the kind of the original text about tape reading, which I would recommend. Studies in Tape Reading, 100-year-old book, old concepts, still applies today. It's just lightning fast at the speed of technology, and millions and millions and millions of participants all around the world in these very liquid markets. The concepts, in my opinion, are pretty much the same thing as auction market theory, which is a little bit newer concept. But I would read those books and understand those concepts conceptually. And then I would look at doing this live and just understanding at the most basic level, just effort versus reward in the market. Just understanding who is driving, who is really controlling price, the aggressive participants, which side is really controlling price, and understand effort versus reward. Is there high effort from aggressive participants that's being rewarded with large price movement? Or is there high effort from aggressive participants to one side and it's being unrewarded by price movement? Price is not moving. That's like absorption. So that would show us that there are large passive participants absorbing that move, potentially positioning for a reversal. It's not always exactly that simple, because there are more complicated things going on in the market, like gamma exposure and things like that. Not everyone participating in the market is just a short-term trader, right? Majority of the flows in the futures market, I think, are hedging and different things from, options dealers and larger funds. So you have to, the more you understand, it's still the same kind of thing. Like, you just understand the market auction, where are big passive participants, where are aggressive participants. But I would start with just understanding those concepts of effort and reward and how you read it on the tape. There's a lot of large aggressive selling coming in, and it's being rewarded with price moving down right now. I'm just talking about, like, that's like my go-to time frame, like 15-minute, 30-minute charts for intraday price action. So we're coming down towards that 75 area that I mentioned in the pre-market. Unfortunately, very close to news here, but this is that area that I mentioned to watch out for a potential bottom reversal here. The 70 to 75 area we just came into. On NQ, we're very close to that as well, right here around 27,300, 27,330-ish area. We see a lot of aggressive buying trying to defend this spot. I really kind of want to take this long. I'm a little hesitant here, just minutes before the 9:45 news, though. And this aligns with prior day balance highs, prior day value area highs, kind of that midpoint key support and resistance spot on that weekly volume profile as well. It's just a key spot for multiple reasons. One way or the other, whether it's supported or broken here, is going to be kind of key, I think. A lot of aggressive selling into this area. We see a large bid here, so a large passive buyer. Oh, look at that. So there's definitely some activity going on here in this zone. It's definitely some activity going on here. Buyers are trying to take over here. Might get run through here though, because the selling is still staying kind of relentless. There's definitely a reaction here though. There's definitely defense going on here. Still big selling coming in though. We got just a couple minutes till the news. Look at that big selling that came in. These buyers tried to defend here. Big selling still coming in. Congratulations, Randy Gunner 169. Make sure you head over to the Chart Fanatics Discord, claim that. Still hanging out in this zone. Look at the volume that came in down here. Look at the size of these bubbles that came in down here. Look at that huge delta spike of aggressive selling that came in this zone. Big time volume coming in here. Still in this area, Kind of breaking through here though, minutes before the news with some really aggressive selling. Could be a fake out though. I wish this level wasn't being tested right like minutes before the news here, but it is what it is. Good morning, Trader John. Welcome in. Welcome in. Some more aggressive buying stepping in. But we're like a couple minutes from news here. NQ's kind of at the same key spot. 2 minutes till news. It's going to be a little unfortunate if we drop to this key spot and then bounce like right on the news. It's a little difficult to trade. Son of a gun. Look at that. Look at that. Big aggressive buying coming in right before the news. Big old aggressive selling and then big old buying coming in right into the news here. Wow. All right, so this is that key spot that we talked about, kind of key above or below, right around that 70, 75 area. Same thing I talked about in the pre-market. We're seeing a big reaction of big buying and big selling and then big buying coming right into the news here. What I'm thinking here is if we get initial buying reaction and then pull back after the news, if it's big if, we hold here with strong buying on a pullback after the news. If it just rips off the news, then that's just unfortunate. We had the great location, just tough to gamble on it going into the news. We're already getting a strong bounce off of it here, strong buying. It's just, I don't like to ever be in positions going right into high impact news, just to gamble. It's just a kind of a hard rule that I have. Even though I like the confirmations of the aggressive buying coming in here, it's just too much of a gamble. I just don't do it. So see what happens here if we get a pullback. Here's the news, 9:45. Chicago PMI. It's just going to be unfortunate if it just rips off this and never comes back. I watch out for Chicago PMI. That's a news headline that can spark some volatility. At least for me as a short-term intraday trader, it's enough volatility that can easily sweep me out of a position. So I don't hold a trade into it. And unfortunately, we literally got the retest of this key zone that I wanted to watch today. This was my #1 watch list trade today. And we're getting a nice strong buying reaction off that level right on the news. It's just tough. I can't break my rules to trade into news, even though the location and confirmations were good there, right? We had the big aggressive selling into this zone, kind of got absorbed, and then big aggressive buying reversed it right back up. So still a key spot to watch now. If we go and break through this now, that will be new information. So I'm watching this area for a pullback here. If it happens, do we hold it or do we break down? So here we're getting a little bit of a pullback now. Some aggressive selling stepping back in. Both ES and NQ here. There's some buying stepping in. Don't see too much. I like how the buying's stepping in. I just don't see much volume or bids. There's a bit more. Kind of selling down into this zone now. There's a bid that stepped in there now. Yeah, there's a bid that stepped in there now. I tried it here at 76. I'm gonna have a pretty tight stop here at like 74. I want to see this thing go pretty quickly. Offer stepped in there. Don't love that. What I'd be looking for is us to break back up towards these 90s. I'm okay with taking a small loss if it comes back here and looking for either a re-entry or invalidate the idea. We're seeing the strong buying. It's just not really getting a large move yet. Definitely seeing the reaction from buyers. Just need it to continue. Yeah, we see the selling pull back into the zone. We're seeing the aggressive buying. That's what I want to see. Just need to see it continue, and that's kind of out of my hands at this point. Do other participants want to keep buying this? We saw the confirmations. Now it's just a matter of does the market continue to react with strong buying or not? All right, I'm going to move my stop break even here now at 76. Up a good amount, up more than 5 points. We're seeing the confirmations. We kind of shifted structure above this prior high. I'm not going to hold this for a loss now. When I see a confirmation from strong buyers, I want to see that get rewarded with continuation, not shut down. So if it takes me out break even, I can always re-enter if I see better confirmations again. But I was only risking 2 points. I'm up over 5 points, so I'm already up 2.5 R on the scalp. Not gonna hold that red. Ah, man, is it gonna come back and get me? It's just running out of gas here. Yep, stopped. Those buyers just kind of ran out of gas at this time. I'm still watching for this pullback here. But I don't love how these buyers just ran out of gas at this time. I'm still watching the pullback, but it's just getting slow and choppy. I don't like, when I get a good entry like that, I don't like it to turn slow and choppy, especially once I'm already up 5-6 points. NQ is kind of at a similar location here as well. But just not loving how the buying is not continuing, right? When I see an aggressive pop like this, I want to see larger aggressive buying stepping in like it did over here, and see how it just kind of got weaker. Initially, the pullback entry looked good, but then the reaction after just was weaker than I wanted to see, right? So that's why I was like, I'm not holding this for a stop loss now. So we'll see what happens. We're pulled back into that zone a bit more here. See if we see more confirmations again. But I don't love the lower high with weaker buying here now. So we see some bigger bids stepping in down here at these lows, but I don't like how I'm seeing the selling pressure increase here and the buying pressure decrease. I don't love that. It could still hold, but it's just not looking as good a quality as it did here. At this time, we saw the aggressive buying recapture. We saw the weaker selling pull back, but now the buying kind of ran out of gas. We'll see if these big guys at the lows mean business here again. I'm still watching, especially if we get a pullback that continues to hold. It's just getting a little sloppy here. kind of relentless selling. Still holding though. It's not, you know, totally invalid. I've just lost a little confidence in it, seeing how this buying is just kind of running out. But nonetheless, you can see the reaction that's here. This is that 70 to 75 level that I've called out in the pre-market. Will it hold? I don't know, but we can see obviously it was a key reaction that the market reacted to, a key zone that the market reacted to. It looks like we may be breaking through it now though, which would call for me to revise my plan. NQ has kind of broken through that area back into the daily range from the prior day, which is kind of bearish to me. ES has kind of broken through that area as well. Still holding at the upper portion right near the value area high from yesterday. So still kind of watching it. It's trying to hold up a little bit, but kind of too weak. Kind of too weak. How do you interpret delta? Matt Siverston asked. So delta is the difference between the aggressive buyers and sellers. So like these bubbles are showing me the difference between aggressive buyers and sellers. So when we're looking at the auction, every transaction that occurs in the market is a pairing between an aggressive buyer and a passive seller, or an aggressive seller and a passive buyer. So when I'm looking at the delta, I'm specifically just looking at the aggressive participants. Who's hitting the bid and who's hitting the ask, like aggressive market orders. And the delta is showing me the difference, because the market orders, the aggressive orders, are telling me whose money is intent on this direction right now, right? Because aggressive participants are the ones that move price. Passive participants do not. Passive participants can absorb and cause almost like a guardrail to make it more difficult for price to move that way. If those passive participants are very strong, but ultimately it's the aggressive participants that move the market. So when I see an imbalance occurring where there's more aggressive participants on one side or the other that are moving price, I want to watch out for that. Now that can come to a halt, right? Like here at this time, we saw this large delta, negative delta into this key zone where we were suspecting buyers might defend. And in this moment, they did, because we saw these aggressive sellers kind of got absorbed because price failed to move any lower from here. And then aggressive buying came in. So when I see that, especially when it's at a key level, then I look for a pullback. However, in this instance, we got a pullback. We started to hold. That's why I took it long. Once I was up more than 2R, I moved my stop to break even. And that was also because if this was going to be a true strong reversal at this time, let me show you. And this is the value of reading the order flow in real time, whether to know I should keep holding or just cut the trade break even before I take a loss on it. So we saw absorption of passive buyers absorbing these aggressive sellers. And then we saw a nice strong reaction of aggressive buyers on the news. So this and combine that with the context, this was that key area that I identified on the volume profile that I wanted to watch out to see if it got defended. it was a key spot one way or the other if we hold it or not. So when we pulled back here, we saw weaker selling pull back. So my entry is here with a very small stop here, 2 points I was risking. Speculating, we would see a continuation of this aggressive buying and drive price higher. But after I got this entry, I saw this buying here was not really what I wanted to see. I was speculating we would see bigger aggressive buying coming in like this and driving price higher now. But I got a very early and very precise entry based on reading the order flow, and that allowed me the flexibility to see this reaction. Yes, we got a reaction where I expected us to. However, it just was not as strong as what I would have liked to see, and that allowed me to be like, okay, let me take the trade off break even here, because yes, I was right. It's just not as strong as what I was hoping to see. So, let me just take the trade off here. Whereas if I was just looking at a candle chart, a green bar looks like a green bar. I have no idea what the size of the buyers is there. But here on the order flow, I get a very good idea of like, okay, let me just take risk off here. At this time on a candle chart, that's just a green bar. A green bar is a green bar regardless of the volume. But seeing this here, being relatively weak and not what I really wanted to see, which I was speculating I would see, gave me confirmation to at least protect myself and take it off break even. Does that make sense as far as delta and how I'm using it? Now we're seeing a bigger reaction here. We dug a little lower. We're seeing a bigger reaction here, but overall this is, conditions are shifting a little bearish. We've dropped into prior day balance, right? So I would have preferred to see a stronger reaction hold up here, and we kind of have dipped a little lower. I like the big buying coming in now, but at this time, I'm not going to try to catch an absolute low. I would want to see, buyers really support a structural shift before I try to get in it again. Yeah, that was a good question from Matt Silverson. Good job. Hopefully that helped you. So in the one sense, seeing the delta and seeing the confirmations on the order flow are very good because it gets me very, very precise entries. So this was basically what this was, guys, is this was just a simple support and resistance area that we saw on the charts, and we confirmed with a key zone specifically on the volume profile. And then we were looking at the reaction real time. So in the one sense, looking at the reaction in real time gets us a very precise entry, but then it also gives us the flexibility of knowing, at least at this moment, it no longer was good, and I can protect myself, much more. If I was only looking at a candle chart, I'd have no way of knowing whether that was high probability or not at that time, and I probably would have just eaten a full stop there because I have no data to show me whether or not I should keep holding at that time or not. But looking at the order flow in real time, I'm like, okay, I see real data. I see the buying weakening. I can go ahead and protect myself here because at this time, the reaction was not as strong as I was betting it would be. Now we're seeing a more strong reaction here. But again, I want to see a little bit more of a structural shift now. Kind of like we saw here, where we saw aggressive buying, weaker selling pullback. If we get that, if that sets up, I'll still watch for it here. Now that we're reclaiming this area around this 7170. Let me put this back on because I still believe this is a key spot right here around 70, 75. And we see the big buying came in and reclaimed that. So we'll see if buyers can turn this thing around and defend this. We haven't really broken under it strongly where like pops are rejecting under it. We're kind of trying to reclaim it here. So it's I'm a little 50-50 here. Congratulations, Matt Silverston. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. 6-month TradeZella subscription. Make sure you check that out in the Chart Fanatics Discord to go ahead and claim that. Heck yeah. Put a W in the chat for him. And put a yes in the chat if you guys just learned something about reading the delta on the order flow and how it's helpful. Drop a yes in the chat if that helped you learn something new, or just reinforce something you already know. So break even, but the win streak continues so far because of identifying that delta and protecting myself. And this is how I protect myself and keep like for the month right now, guys, I'm at like a 52% win rate with a 4.9 R multiple average. And a lot of that is because I'm able to protect myself very well, very cleanly at the right time and not take unnecessary losses, even small losses. Like that was only a 2-point risk to begin with. But it turned into like a 1-tick gain because I protected myself seeing that delta there. Yeah, I like how bulls are trying to recapture this. I don't want to fancy dance it though. And I want to see structure really shift, really prove it. I want to see weak delta from sellers pulling back and then find me a good opportunity. And that comes at the risk of missing it if it just blasts. If it just blasts and goes, I'm okay with missing it. I want to see more confirmations now. Yeah, a whole bunch of yeses in the chat. Curie asked, what would you say are the most impactful fair value gaps across time frames? So I don't use price action structure for like that. But if you are looking at a price action structure for like a fair value gap, it's going to be most important combining with your understanding the market auction at a key spot. So where the market is in balance and volume is built and a fair value gap forms at that kind of break of structure, especially combined with key level and market context overall where a low volume node forms. So if this right here on this left-hand side is a volume profile, it's going to be most impactful, right, at the right conditions in the right location when we see that form that leaves a low volume node and those aggressive participants. And it's hard to know on a price action alone, right? Because you want to see increasing size and aggression on the delta of those aggressive participants that form that low volume node, because not fair value gap, because not every fair value gap is not equal, right? Every fair value gap does not equal a low volume node where there is a true imbalance of aggression between the participants. I want to be clear about that. So understanding how to read that delta and combining with, like, you probably don't want to look at that in the middle of a value range. Like if there's a value range overall in a day and the market's like here and you're looking at like lower time frame 1 minute structure here and that forms there, right? That's not super high quality. So combining with your overall analysis of the market context and the auction and what it's doing. But that is not an ICT concept for you guys, and the ICT folks in here are going to stone me to death, but that is just an age-old market auction concept. Right, so continued weakness coming in here. So that's why context is important, right? I wanted to see buyers recapture this, but I'm not willing to just like buy at the highs. Like I want to see a true structural shift that shows me selling has become exhausted. So far, selling is still kind of relentless here. Yeah, if you guys learned something today, smash the like, subscribe to the channel here. Chart Fanatics Live. Tune in with live traders every day. And then also, if you haven't, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. If you guys want more information about order flow sit trading on my personal YouTube channel, the link is in the description of this video. That's dropping tomorrow. Slayer said, this has been a great live, big W. Thank you, man. I'm glad you guys are getting value and learning something. As always, I try to keep my streams very educational focused, give you guys value every day. So prevailing weakness overall, back inside yesterday's range now. At this time, it might bounce from here, guys. It might, but it's just not as, good of quality location and context overall. I also don't see great quality to short this. If we are back up at the weekly range highs, which we kind of dumped from like right on the 930 bell, then, let me recap here to show you what I mean. So going back to what I talked about when I started the stream this morning, I'm looking at this weekly range, right? We had an overall balance range, but there was this key kind of support and resistance area in this area here around that 70-ish area, right? So I was watching to see, one, right, we have this balance area overall. So if the market is at one of these extremes, we may look to mean revert it, which is what we got this morning. Failed at the high, mean reverted. That happened right on the 930 bell. That wasn't tradable for me. So I watched this kind of, not really point of control, but just key support and resistance area to see if we get a reaction. We did get a reaction there. It just did not sustain, right? And obviously protected ourselves there. Now it's like, okay, what's going on now? We're back in prior day range. We're just kind of still in this, we did not sustain the energy from buyers there to support maybe a breakout of this range now. So now I'm just kind of chilling, to be honest. Just kind of chilling here. The wrong thing to do would be frustrated about that not working and then try to catch it here and here and here and then just like blast yourself and wreck yourself, right? Now is the time to pause, reassess, reevaluate. Overall structure is the same, just did not get a continuation of support there like we were watching for. Okay, now we're just still looking at this weekly range. We might, still support this here and recapture it. And if we do today, find strength and recapture that strongly and really shift structure, then that would be new information. But until then, I'm not going to try to catch the lows here just in the middle of no man's land. Does that make sense? Buyers are still trying to just support this area. Like they haven't like totally given up. There's been a lot of aggressive selling that's repeatedly come in here. 1, 2, 3 drives here of aggressive selling trying to break through this area, and it's still meeting resistance from these aggressive buyers. But overall, it's not ready yet. So what I mean is, looking at this zone here today, it would be a lot more interesting to me if we got something like this, where we continue to see like some big absorption here, and then buyers really recapture this with a break of structure, ideally like maybe an intraday low volume node forms here, and there's real energy shifting. Then if we get a weaker pullback, try it again. If that happens, right? Big if. But until then, I'm not gonna like try to catch the lows anymore. Because reading the tape as an order flow trader, by definition, as a tape reader, you are learning to read the immediate trend in price, not predict when it's going to happen. Just learn to read when that immediate trend shift occurs, right? And not trying to preempt it necessarily, seeing the moment that there is a high quality shift before there's any kind of structural pattern on a candle chart, before anything like that, when there is a very clear structural shift that you can see, then that provides a good opportunity. But what's not a good opportunity is trying to catch the absolute bottom, the absolute top of moves. Being a good tape reader and a good trader often means, catching your small but high probability piece, not trying to catch the absolute bottom, the absolute top of moves. ES is getting sluggish here. Let's take a look at NQ. Kind of the same structure overall, wider swings though, to be expected. Look at this dark spot on the heat map here, held once, twice, 3 times now, around 27,200. Talking about that right there. So there's a big passive buyer there. We've seen supported 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And that's not just a line on a chart from support and resistance in the middle of nowhere. We clearly see on the heat map here, there's a big passive buyer there. Now we may go break through that because weakness is prevailing. There is that overnight swing low on NQ we're almost there. So that might be a key spot if it breaks and recovers. Talking about 27,185. Oh, we just traded there. I looked away for 1 second. So 27,185, kind of key overnight swing low there. But the problem for me is it's just kind of in the middle of the range, middle of not something key. Do you have static take profits or do you use low volume nodes? Take profit levels are very similar to like opposing entry locations for me. Open, high, low, and close, low volume nodes, high volume nodes, things from the order flow, prior highs and lows, things like that. Generally for me, I won't take a trade unless it's at least a 2R opportunity. I look to maintain like at least like 40-50% win rate or better, ideally like 60%, 65, and at least 2R multiple. ES is actually holding up relatively stronger compared to NQ. NQ is trying to take out these prior lows here. ES is pretty well off of it. So I kind of like how ES is not participating in this pullback as much as NQ is. Could turn into a big overnight fake out on the NQ sweep of those lows. Could be. But again, I want to see, strong confirmations. I'm not trying to fight this thing downtrending if it just keeps selling off. See this volume tail on this drop down here. Little recovery here on NQ after taking out those overnight lows. ES is pretty far off from overnight lows still, all the way down at like 71.30s, 71.32. We're still 35 points above that. Could kind of watch kind of this zone here if we sweep back and hold on NQ. So just going to take off now. Congratulations, Curie. Yeah, we got a nice sweep of those overnight lows and rallying off this on NQ. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit of a pullback here. I might be interested in taking that for a scalp back to the upside, kind of off the lows of this balance range now. Those overnight lows were pretty much near the lows of this daily balance range, so. Congratulations, Curie. Alpha Capital Group Challenge win. W in the chat. Head over to the Chart Fanatics Discord to claim that there. NQ's trying to make a recovery. ES is still flirting around this zone, still trying to do it. Are we going to finally try to recapture this zone here for real this time? Looks like some bigger bids stepping in here around these 67s. NQ pulling back as well. Kind of back towards got a little bit of a volume shelf there under 27,200. Bids kind of stepping in here. See that dark spot right there at the bottom of that zone that I marked here. So bids trying to defend this here. NQ took out to that overnight low, trying to hold here. If we get a pullback and it holds, we could have a nice mean reversion back up into the middle of this daily range. Just not going to get a pullback now, maybe, I don't know. Buyers are trying to support this. We'll see if we get a real structural shift now and hold a pullback. So I like this bigger buying starting to shift structure above these prior highs now. Coming up towards VWAP here too. So let's see if we get a little pullback and hold a structural shift here. We could have a nice recovery back up towards the 7190s. If, right? Obviously, if this fakes out and we crush through with aggressive selling, that's going to be invalid. Yeah. Insurance, or who said that? Trader John. Yeah, I'm watching how NQ kind of took out those lows overnight and recovering, and ES is still holding up, right? Kind of aligns with a balance range fade. That bigger bid down here Looks like he pulled that order, so we'll see what happens. NQ just, or sorry, ES is just feeling slow. But if this can recover, I could definitely see us moving back up into those 7190s. On NQ, or sorry, on ES, on NQ. Yeah, back up towards that 27,400 maybe. If we recover. Some speedy buying coming in here on NQ. Like that bit of speedy buying there. Took it long here at 27.33s. Oops, it's gonna come back. I was stopped just under 29. Now it stopped me. Still watching it here. Still watching if we get a nice defense here. Look for a little bit more of a pullback. Coming back towards this volume shelf down under 27,200. Wow. Right off that level down there now. Some aggressive buying stepping back in. Still crushing. See this zone over here. Buying starting to speed up. Seems like every time it speeds up, it whips back though. See if it comes and continues this time. Tried it again here at 93. Gonna trail my stop just to 90. Very, 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 very tight here. I want to see it go immediately. Taking a half off here. Cover that earlier loss and break even. Half off, break even at 92 now. Second position is at 92. Would like to see this thing continue back up towards those highs from earlier now. Back up here. But if this just turns into a failed pop, I'm going to cut this second half break even. I won't hold it for a loss. That was that zone that we talked about earlier there on NQ. There we go. There we go. Can we get up to these prior highs here? These 27, 240s, 250s? I'm gonna boost my stop now to 207. I like how we recovered that volume shelf there. If we give that back up, I'm just gonna keep trailing my profits here. Not gonna give it all back. Gonna boost my stop again here to 220. I'm just gonna let it run and keep boosting the stop here. It'll take me out when it takes me out. Boosting the stop to like 23. All right. Trying to squeeze as much juice without giving much back. So, oh, I'm out. Trailed stop hit. All right, so I got that from the 192s to the 224. That's where it stopped me there. I was just kind of letting the profit run to see if we could go take out those prior highs there, but just keep boosting my stop like 5 or 10 points behind price because I wasn't willing to give back 100% if we sweep back like that. So I got about, I don't know, $450 on that first contract, $650 on that second contract. That's it. That's a wrap for me. Don't need to have a home run. Wow, we swept back and ripped to those prior highs I wanted in the 40s. That mother effer. Oh my goodness. Now it's going to take out those highs. There's that second target. But that's okay. Guys, you don't win 100% of them. Sometimes it whips back like that. And I was just boosting my stop. You know, if it would have ripped another 50 points from there, I would have capitalized on it. But sometimes it just whips back like that. There it goes. There's those prior highs. So that was the next target that I was really looking for, those 40s, 50s right there, that prior high. So literally exact same setup I was looking for on ES. I just waited for a zone to form like this on NQ where we had some absorption on the sweep of those overnight lows there, pulled back, formed a nice little zone here. Look at that. I mean, I drew this box back at what, like 10:15 or 10:20? 10 minutes later, boom, look at the retest. Boom, look at the reaction. Not a candle chart, not price action, orders. Where are orders? Very sick. Somebody said caught 7.5 points on the VWAP reaction. I'm not calling a signal here, Franco. I'm telling you, this is not a signal chat, by the way. I'm telling you where I'm taking a trade based on the analysis that I'm looking at. I do not recommend copying my trades. I do not recommend anyone copying anyone else's trades. Nobody is profitable long-term doing that. You might go on streaks, but you'll never be able to manage risk the same thing as someone else. Right, so I'm sharing mine for education, right? And how I'm analyzing this, how I'm sharing this, but I'm not sharing a trade signal here for you to try to copy. There's like, dude, there's like a 10 or 15 second YouTube delay here on the stream alone. By the time that even came across the live stream, price is already like 20 points away from my entry on NQ. So don't try to learn the analysis. Don't try to copy someone else. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for me. Streak continues. Got a little hairy there. Took a break even, took a small loss. Recovered nicely. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I would be mindful, you know, so the location of this, guys, goes back to the balance range that I talk about, right? If there's an opportunity at the extremes of the range in these conditions, so be it, right? This is just a little baby scalp. We had those lows there that kind of aligned at the same of the balance range that we had yesterday at those lows. That's an opportunity for a mean reversion. It doesn't have to be a big trade. We get a strong reaction there, back up towards the middle of this range. What I do not recommend is once price moves and it's like back inside value area, it can just, you can get whipped out left and right. So if the market is balanced, look at the extremes. Do not try to fancy finesse things in the middle of a choppy value area up and down, right? Baby trading. That's the nice thing about trading with order flow is even if the market is kind of in a range and there's not a huge opportunity, at least for me, like you can still capitalize on really high risk versus reward opportunities, even with scalps. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you learned something. Hope you guys got some value out of this. As always, my advice going forward today is look at, we got some strong reactions off the low of this range here. And I was just looking for a pop into these prior highs. Ultimately, the day is shifting pretty bearish, right? So it's dangerous to keep trying to catch the lows. If the structure breaks here, I would watch for it to hold because we could continue to mean revert on the day, but I would avoid middle of the range price action and I would avoid fighting it if we continue to break lower. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next stream next week, next Friday. If you're new to my channel, make sure you check out on YouTube. I have an order flow series dropping on YouTube starting tomorrow. Make sure you're in the Chart Fanatics live Discord if you guys want to claim those rewards and also connect with me and other good traders there. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.